Welcome back, y'all. We have another installment of the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 147, and you are going to want to stay tuned because we have breaking thermal scope news from Bering Optics, which is our lead subject for tonight as we go through the no-show shot shows. We've talked about several manufacturers, and we're going to be discussing Bering Optics. We're going to be recapping what they did in 2020. We're also going to be talking about what their plans are for 2021. But to discuss that, the man that has the inside scoop on all the night vision and thermal optics, Mr. Jason Robertson of Outdoor Legacy. Welcome back. We got another Thursday show. Good to have you here. Good to hopefully hear your voice very soon, so you don't leave me hanging out there.
I was sitting over here
trying to wrap this intro up.
I thought you may just do the whole show and just leave me sitting over here. That'd be all right.
It's always the intro's always awkward in how to bring each other in, and I tell you, it never 147 weeks. It has not gotten any easier.
It has not gotten.
But
easier.
Man, you make it look so smooth. So
well, I mean, it's a. I was trained by the late great Rush Limbaugh. So,
Rush Limbaugh, yeah.
So speaking of that, man, I meant to ask you before the show if you saw he passed away, man. He was an icon of conservative radio. Anyway, I don't know how we got off on that, but he was a good one. So
since we're talking about Rush, I will mention, because one of my best memories as a child was being, and it really was, elementary school through junior high until I started driving myself. But I would get picked up from school every day, and on the radio when I got in the vehicle was Rush Limbaugh. So I was, a Rush baby from the beginning. I mean, as long back as I can remember, my parents had the Rush Limbaugh show on the radio when we got in the car. And
that was the exact same thing with me, absolutely. And I always wondered what he meant by Rush baby, and I think that probably meant us. That's
exactly, because it was our parents had it on the radio and were listening, and truly an icon, man. So sad, just because he. I listened to him a bunch, and, just the memories I had when I was a child is very, very sad. Just an iconic figure for a lot of people, and hated definitely. Also by a lot of people too. But we loved
that's
him.
Right. He will not be replaced by anybody. I think his status and his personality is going to be too big to replace. But to see him go. And
the reason why he was so hated by people on the other side was because he was so effective. So that's we're not going to get real deep into that kind of stuff. But I hated to hear about Rush Limbaugh. So
I don't think many people hate us. So does that mean we're not very effective? I mean, that's
probably not. Probably not. People just think we're just good old boys. So I think they're like, oh,
that's exactly right. How dangerous can we be?
Yeah. So, folks, welcome back. We've got what we think is a great show. Anytime we can deliver breaking news for anything night vision or thermal related, we're excited to share it with you. I know that a lot of you tune in on a week-to-week basis, mainly to hear about scopes. A little bit of hunting stories, and we've got plenty of all of that this week. We've got scope talk, we've got some hunting talk at the end of the show, but you definitely want to stay tuned because we're going to be breaking some news. But we are talking about Bering Optics, and we're going to really, first thing we're going to do is recap what they did in 2021. Not new on the scene, but new for a lot of people on the other side of this microphone. The people that are out there listening or watching, they may have heard of Bering Optics for the first time when their buddy bought one of the Hogster models, or a lot of people ask about the Super Hogster. We've talked about it before. A lot of their fame wasn't generated by them and an elaborate social media marketing plan. It was word of mouth, people buying scopes, using them, posting videos, and talking about how much they loved them. And Jason, you and I had a chance to meet with them in the booth at the end of January in 2021. Had a good discussion with them, and started just talking about their scopes, and they've done really well. So let's talk about a brief recap. It started, Jason, with their award that they got for best entry level scope that we that we gave them at the end of this year?
I've actually been wanting to break in for about 5 minutes now, but
oh gosh, I can't imagine. Jason Robertson wants to talk.
I wanted to say something, and you were doing such a good job, and I was stuttering over here, hoping you'd hear me. I want to say one quick thing before we jump into this. Hans always loves it when I backtrack about 2 steps, but as he briefly mentioned in his very long intro and monologue, we this is part of the no show shot show. I'm not sure what he called it, but I think I might have heard something we're gonna have to bleep in there. But we have been doing these shows.
Not bleeping nothing. I can tell you that.
Yeah, you're not bleeping anything. All right, we have been doing these shows, and we've been we've offered up to all the different manufacturers that we deal with the opportunity to come onto the show, to let us interview them, to talk about basically anything they want to talk about. And we extended that offer to Bering as well. And Bering was very intrigued. They were happy for us to talk about their show. They said they're generally not public people. They're the kind of people that are in the background designing and building scopes, and that's what they're really good at. And so they said, hey, we're gonna tell you some things, give you some news, some things you can talk about, even break some news on the show, but we'll let y'all talk about us. And I think their words were that there was probably nothing that required us talking about them for 45 or 50 minutes on the show. So they're very, very humble, and they've been wonderful to deal with. So we did want to let you know, we did invite them on the show, and they did give us some things that we can talk about here. So just so that you know, we didn't stiff them or anything on the interview offer. Yeah. And you're so right. we're thankful for the info that they did give us that we're going to pass along here in a minute. So back to where you were at. Yes. I think, again, I'm going to touch on one thing you said that I think is a really, really big deal that shouldn't be glossed over, is that when most companies, and again, Bering has been around for a very long time. I don't know what it is, 15, 20 years, a long time. And when you take a company, though, that's been around, they've been doing a lot of night vision optics and some thermal optics, but when somebody explodes onto the market like they have, it's usually because of a very well-planned, expensive marketing plan. I mean, they've got this laid out how they're going to do it. They've got the right people using their scopes. They've got the TV stars. They've got whatever it is. And what Bering did was just produce some really, really good optics and bring them to the market and let people start using them. And what happened, as Hans mentioned here, is really a big, big deal. When a company can grow and have so much success and household name recognition in an industry like the thermal world in such a short amount of time, based solely on word of mouth by end users who are buying the stuff. I mean, let's be clear. Bering doesn't have a bunch of pro staff. Bering is not, again, they don't have a giant social media presence where they're out pushing content. They're busy working on scopes, providing customer service, doing what they do. And the end users are out there selling their stuff by just talking about how much they like it. So anyway, you mentioned all that. I just wanted to kind of, bring that point home and say that is a really, really big deal. And we are thankful to be working with them in 2020 and now going into 2021. And so let's talk about those awards that we gave them on the Late Night Vision show, Best of 2020.
So we, as you know, and if you haven't watched any of the Best of series, go check those out. We did those back. It's been several weeks ago, but the award really that I think a lot of people have talked about a lot is the best entry-level thermal scope, and that went to the Bering Optics Hogster R25 millimeter. And Jason, you and I had a extensive testing of all the Hogster models. We knew that when we got our hands on that 25 millimeter model, that was going to be a big seller. With the image quality that it came with, and at the price point that it was being delivered to the market, it just showed all the signs of success of being able for people that are not in the position to spend which is the vast majority of people in the United States, to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and up for a thermal scope. Might be people that are new into thermal for the first time, and they say, you know what, I really don't know how much I'm going to do this, but I want to check it out, and I don't want to spend 10 grand. And so, I think what that scope did, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it has gotten more people into the thermal market. And there's some others, the Pulsar Core has been around for a while, and there's been other brands. AGM's got some stuff, and but that Hogster got so much recognition, and when people started posting video, the sharpness and crispness of the picture has really made it a big popular item that came through, for us, towards the middle and the end of the year. But it also, I think, at that price point, it gave people a lot of value for the money. And, they've just overwhelming stories of how much they love the scopes.
Yeah, and I think that we're rolling into that and that popularity, the Hogster R35, and that scope is, a few $100s more, comes in at $2,675 compared to $2,295 of the Hogster R25, and the Hogster R35 is basically the big brother to that 25, and we gave it kind of the unofficial award of the best thermal scope under $3,000. And we kind of felt like it was in a little bit of no man's land at the time. It didn't have any competitors, and we kind of apologized for it and said it looks like we're, giving a participation trophy, and we weren't. I mean, it would have taken a really good scope in that price range to beat the Hogster 35. And that has been the more popular model between the 25 and 35, just because you're in that, $2,500 to $2,700 price range, staying under, the $3,000 mark, a little more magnification. And it's just been extremely popular. So both of those scopes, together, they really have shaken up the sub $3,000 market. And it's shown people, hey, here's a chance to get a focusable objective lens, super crisp, sharp, clear image, small, compact, lightweight, and an affordable price. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about them besides they're just, I hate to use the word, anytime I use the word bargain, people are like, oh my gosh, $2,000, $3,000 in a bargain, or $5,000 or whatever it is. But relatively speaking, I think those scopes are a bargain for what they are. I mean, just for what they've brought to the market.
Yep. And then rounded it out for 2020 is a scope, man, it's like a mythical creature when you talk about the Super Hogster in this one. The last in the line, the trio of thermal scopes for 2020, the Super Hogster, priced in at a little over $3,000, internal video recording, 3 power-based magnification.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's a 12 micron.
Yep. 12 micron, yeah, 384 resolution. I mean, fantastic optic, and people, and you get this too, more calls, that come in for Bering Optics. Most of the time they want to hear about the Super Hogster. But here's the crazy thing, Jason. People are talking about the Super Hogster in the same breath that they're mentioning Trijicon, and they want to say, hey, how's that Super Hogster compared to the Trijicons? Because I'm hearing that it's close to the same. And you probably hear it too, but man, that's why I say it's like a mythical creature, because it's like it's built up this huge reputation of a fantastic thermal scope and optic and image and all of that, people are making these comparisons way outside of different price ranges because of what they've heard, and
and I want to go on the record and say that the Late Night Vision show, nor Bering Optics, is making the claim that the Super Hogster is comparable to a Trijicon or anything. But it is a very, very good optic, and I would say this. That optic was very close to winning the best thermal rifle scope under $4,000. That was a extremely close race with some of the Pulsars there. And I'm going to tell you, there's one thing that I don't like about the Super Hogster, and that's that we can't get enough of them. We just, that scope, it really is. When people call, I think that scope is probably mentioned more than any other scope on a daily basis. And that's saying something. I mean, because we talk to, we've been getting hundreds of calls a day for the last several months. And it is unbelievable how many times that the word Super Hogster comes out, and people are looking for it. Their buddies got one. They've heard about them. And you're right. The image quality is just outstanding on that unit.
Mm-hmm. And, we didn't mention the size of all three of these too, very small footprint on the rifle, very, lightweight, compact. A lot of people like to get them as binoculars and have a buddy scope. I mean, there's just so many uses for it. Fantastic trio of thermal scopes that came out in 2020, but we are going to break the news and what probably everybody's tuning in for. People want to know what's coming out. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors. I've got people that call and wanting to know about all kinds of different things they heard about what Bering Optics is coming out with next. But I'll let Jason break the news because he, like he said, I'm glad you mentioned this, that we did reach out to Bering Optics. They are supporters of the show. I think they really like what we do. They obviously appreciate us talking about their thermal scopes, and we are very happy to talk about them because they are so good. They, declined, like Jason said, because they're not, they're back in the back making scopes and trying to pump them out as quick as possible. And you know what? I kind of appreciate that. They're not big on social media, but they let everybody else talk good about their stuff.
I think that, I think our customers just said, hey, you know what? As long as they're pushing the scopes out, we don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get my Super Hogster here, right?
Exactly. So 2021, Jason, you got the inside scoop. I'll let you deliver it because I know that you spoke directly.
I did
with Bering Optics to get this information.
There's a little disappointment here, and the disappointment is that. Because of the snow apocalypse in Texas, which Hans and I will be talking about after towards the end of the show here in the second half, we should already have this optic here. So it should be in my hands when we're recording. I should be able to show it to you, but unfortunately, it is going to be delivered tomorrow. Always one day late and $1 short for the late night vision show, but that's the way it goes. But I'm going to tell you about it, and we will be reviewing it and talking about it more on the show very soon. Mm-hmm. But Bering has a new scope coming, and this is going to be available hopefully in March of this year, 2021. That's the current ETA. Could be a little bit later, never know, but the current ETA is March. It is going to be called the Hogster Stimulus, and it is going to be, all right, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It's going to be a 256 by 192 resolution, 12 microns. So I want to just start right here and explain what we're doing. So you can see here, standard resolution is somewhere always in the threes, 320 by 240, 384 by 288, somewhere in there. So we've taken a little small step down, gone to a 256 by 192 resolution. It's going to be 12 microns, have a base magnification of 2.3 power, and go up to 4.6 power with a 19 millimeter lens, have a 30 hertz refresh rate, a focusable objective lens, a very small size, up to an 8-hour battery life, and the drum roll, please. The retail price is going to be $1,495. So this is going to be the first sub $2,000, and I say that's maybe not fair. Sub $2,000. I mean, we've talked about some of the AGM scopes that are $19.99. The Core RXQ that's $18.99. So okay, I guess those are sub 2,000, but we're say sub 1,900. How about that? Oh, it's the first scope that we'll have ever reviewed on here. And it's going to be $14.95 retail. This is going to be a very interesting move. It's going to be something that, talking to Bering, they called me, I don't know, a few weeks ago. We talked about it and wanted to know what our thoughts were. And, I told them, I said, I think this is a way to capture more first-time buyers, entry-level buyers who, just really aren't ready to swing the $2,000 or $2,500 mark, but they want something to go out and, maybe they're trying to, kill hogs under a feeder at close range. Maybe they got, a fox or a cow getting the chickens or the goats or something around the house, kill coons off the feeders. I think this is going to be it. Again, we have not seen this unit yet. We should have already had it. I checked the tracking about 15 minutes ago just to make sure I didn't see some good news that it was sitting on the front porch, but it's not. It's on the truck. Supposed to be here tomorrow, so we should have it in our hands by the time this show airs, and we're going to be excited. I think this is going to be something interesting that could just expand their reach. And I'm just going to say one last thing, because I know there's going to be some questions here for guys that maybe aren't that familiar with thermal. This is not a replacement for anything that Bering currently has. This is not going to be a replacement for a competitor scope that's in the $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 price range. What this is, and it's an extension into kind of a new market. Okay, we're dropping the resolution some, so you're going to drop your identification range and probably maybe your shooting distance as well with that. But hopefully, it's still going to be a very good usable optic, again, for the close range stuff. So I just don't want somebody to be like, oh, man, I just bought a Hogster 25. I guess I should have waited, or a Hogster 35. No, this is going to be a different category of scope, but I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, we may have to create another category just for an award for 2021 if we keep going this route.
Man, those awards are expensive, so I got to be careful how many of these things I've got to buy next year. So
yeah, man, it hadn't cost me any money yet, so I'm okay with it.
That's right.
The bigger the better with the trophies. Right. I'm a big fan. So stay tuned for that. We will be doing a full review. As you know, we got to get it in. We're going to test it. As you know, we always test all these optics, hunt with them a bunch. Jason does his test with it. He sends it to me. I do mine. We come together, do a review. And then I do also a review on the Hans ETX YouTube channel. If you want to see a lot more videos than we can show on these podcast versions, head over there for any scope that you're interested in. But do a lot of hunting with it, do the review. Sometimes a little bit, most of the time a lot shorter than these videos, but it's not as detailed. So we appreciate y'all, staying tuned for all that. But the Hogster Stimulus, and that is going to come in.
I want to. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, interrupted you. $14.95. I am excited about it. I want to say this too. I think there's going to be some other stuff coming from Bering this year. So I would say stay tuned to the Late Night Vision show. And we'll be bringing you any of that news once it is available for public knowledge. I would expect to see some more good stuff from them in 2021. I know they're working behind the scenes right now, trying to get some more stuff pumped out. And the little bit of tidbits I've heard, it sounds very exciting. And so we're really excited to see what Bering does in 2021 and beyond, because they definitely have the ball rolling. And they have definitely got some momentum. So we're excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So stay tuned. And thank you to Bering for letting us break the news here. So as always, if you're interested in purchasing any night vision or thermal scope or optic, you can always visit the website at outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call the office and speak with the friendly people over there, 877-350-1818. We are there to help you out. And what we say is taking the confusion out of night vision and thermal optics. And there's a lot of confusion, and rightfully so. And even more with 2020 and 2021, right. There's so many more options, so many more scopes. It is a good time to be in the market for a thermal. But when you do, be prepared for a little bit of a wait sometimes, because I think that surprises people more than anything is, it's a little frustrating, Jason. I know that you hear this. It takes a long time to decide what they want. They do a bunch of research. They talk to us. They watch videos, and then they decide, yes, this is the scope that I want. And then they have to find out that it's a several week wait. And
it's 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll say it's like that for everybody. It's just demand, and If you've tried to buy ammo lately, you probably understand. Everybody that we talked to has been very understanding because it's just the state of of our business environment right now, not just for hunting related items, but a lot of different manufacturing items and different things that it's a long delay. But best thing to do, give us a call, get on a list, save your spot in line. Once you decide on your scope, all the hard work's out of the way, and now you can just sit back, wait when it comes in, and go out and have some fun. But so if you have more questions about that, holler back at us. But we're going to get into I had people, and I talked to people last week that they were just so concerned about you, Jason, with all this weather. And the first thing they asked about was, how's Jason? How's Jason doing? And, not to bring it back to me, I wanted to say, hey, more me. But, I'm doing fine, by the way, since you asked. But everybody wanted to know how Jason Robertson was doing. And
that's because it was radio silence. And if I'm silent, they know that I must be dead or something.
Yeah. So before he gets into his little story, we're going to talk about a hunting tournament we had last weekend. But I was one of the lucky few, never lost power, never lost water. The most I suffered was having to take the dog outside to use the bathroom, in piles of snow. So that was the extent of my suffering. But you had a little bit different experience down there in your neck of woods, which Jason's about 2 hours southeast of a little bit further east than where I am. And you didn't just get the blizzard snow, you got snow and then an ice storm after that, which man, just seeing the pictures of all these buildings collapsing and hearing about you up on a roof in the middle of this thing is crazy. And a lot of people have asked, so how are you doing, Jason? Did you survive? We
survived, and I'm going to say this. We're very blessed. We had no major damage personally, nothing major other than some inconveniences and some – I just say this. I felt like all week we were just surviving. I mean, that's what it felt like. It was just like, okay, we've just got to make it until tonight. We've just got to make it until the morning. And I don't mean like about to die. It was a lot of work. And I'm going to tell you, I know that, and I was going to say this, I know that our northern brothers up there that, live in about 6 months of this kind of weather that we had for a week are probably rolling their eyes. But you know what? I talked to a lot of those guys, and they were very sympathetic. They're like, listen, we get it. Y'all are not prepared for this. And that's what I want to say real quick. I think some people, especially maybe in the media and whatever, like, it's just a big freeze. And our infrastructure, our construction, nothing is built for, single digits or sub-zero temperatures, especially for multiple days. Yeah. I'm 42 years old. I'm born and raised here. I don't think I've ever seen single digits here. I've seen like 12 or 13. And we had sub-zero temperatures and then single digits for 3 nights. Yeah. And, this started on a Sunday, and we recorded the podcast last week on a Monday. It had already started. And I still, right now, have a huge pile of snow in front of my house, and we are over a full week past this thing, which that's really weird for East Texas. So anyway, no, honestly, we're fine. We did lose internet, power, phone lines, cell service. It is very difficult to run an online business when you don't have internet, power, or cell service. Yeah, that was a big deal. And if anybody emailed me, they probably found out because I started telling people I didn't know what to do. I just had so many emails, and I didn't even know, but I knew they had to be out there because I average anywhere from 20 to 40 emails a day, depending on the day, and it's a chore to go through those. And so I finally figured out that I could go to my truck. It's a Chevrolet, so it's got OnStar, and I could buy a data package. And so I bought a data package, and I would go sit in my truck for about 2 hours at a time using the internet on my laptop to frantically try to reply to emails, and then the data package stopped working. And, that was a mess. But anyway, we got it all back going. Anyway, we survived. I will say that probably the worst thing Hans alluded to there that we had down here was this ice storm on top of the snow a few days later. And what we ended up with was very heavy ice after we had the snow. And again, our construction is not made for that. And so we started having a lot of metal building, barns, and shops collapse. The running joke kind of on here is that I like to go on Thursdays to our sale barn here in Nacogdoches County and eat lunch and watch the sale for a little bit. It's kind of my dirty pleasure of getting away from the office for 30 or 45 minutes on Thursdays. And our sale barn actually collapsed. All the pens out there where they hold the cattle. I mean, we're talking about a huge area. Again, just could not hold the weight. It collapsed. It's going to take them months to clean that up and rebuild. I've got buddies who lost carports, buddies who lost barns, who got their trailers and tractors collapsed on top of. And so I had a really good friend of mine and a hunting buddy. Hans knows him. We've all gone hunting together before. My buddy Andrew, he called me and he goes, "Hey man, I live in a what we call a barn house. It's a metal house attached to a metal shop. So
like a barn-dominium.
Like a barn-dominium. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a finished out normal house on the inside, looks like a metal building on the outside. And it's got a big roof, and it's low pitch where it comes off of the big metal shop. And my buddy Andrew called me and he goes, "Hey man," he said, "I was just over here at our other buddy's place." He said, "I was just helping him dig his tractor, his RV, his Ranger, all this stuff out of his shop because he's got a nice 40 by 60 shop, and that thing just collapsed." And I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." And so I was hearing all this other stuff going on, and the roads were terrible. We couldn't get out. And he said, "Man, I'm going to come down to your house. We got to go check your stuff out." And I said, "I've got 2 barns, but 3." I said, "But I can live with them collapsing. I'm worried about my house." So he brought his chainsaw, cut his way in. I had to cut 3 trees to get to my house, but he got there. We climbed up on ladders, looked up there on top of my house, and there's all this ice and snow. Mm-hmm. And I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "I think getting up there, it's slick, it's icy, it's cold, it's dangerous." He said, "I think it is a stupid idea. And I think if you don't get up there and shovel that stuff off, you're a moron." And I said, "Great. That's what I like." And he said, "Well, I'll stand down here on the ground and watch." And so he did. And I stayed up there for 2.5 hours. Didn't look like I did anything, but I shoveled off several thousand pounds of ice and snow. And I don't know if it did anything, but I rested better and saying, well, at least if our house collapses on us, I tried. But no, we turned out fine. It was all good. It was an inconvenience. Michaela, our office manager that Hans and I talk about, they were out of all the services. She actually had cell phone service, and she was able to get a hotspot, but they didn't have water for several days. Yeah. And so that was a mess. Thankfully, we did keep our water. So I was never so glad to see sunshine, and in typical East Texas fashion, it was 12 degrees, 13 degrees, and 36 hours later, it was 68 degrees. Yeah. So now we've got sunshine, and the snow is mostly gone, so I'm glad to see it.
Well, I don't worry about you too much. I know that if you need to, you'll go out in the pasture and butcher one of your cows and have a good feast. So, I don't worry too much about you.
That's the one thing I would say that for all these northern guys, I don't know how y'all do it. All this chopping ice for cows and hauling water, and I'm just like that. I just don't get it. I mean, one week of that, and I was like, let's shoot everything and just eat it. I'm done. This is too much.
Speaking of cows, and we had a coyote hunting tournament this past weekend, and it was still ice and snow on the ground where we were out. It was still really cold. It was above freezing, but it was cold. And there was a cow frozen in the middle of a frozen pond. All you could see was
Really?
The poor thing's head sticking out of the water, frozen. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
No way.
It tells you how bad it is down here in the livestock, and like Jason said, taking care of all that. I got a lot of buddies that were in the same boat, but we had we had to miss last year because it was the year of COVID, but I guess this is our third annual the Conway Farms Predator Hunting Contest, and thank you to Outdoor Legacy for being a sponsor. We gave away a door prize of a Sightmark Wraith HD 4X, and that was one of many very, very good door prizes that we had again this year. That was the best thing of the tournament. Everything else about it just sucked. I mean, tell you, it was cold. It was miserable. It's a 17-hour hunt. Starts at 4 p.m. on Saturday, ends at 9 a.m. on Sunday. And it is a grind. If any of you've done these, 24-hour tournaments or 17-hour tournaments, it is just a strain on your body, on your mind. At 4 o'clock, you're just ready to be done with it. And then you just kind of gain a little bit of energy. I don't know. And you get rev back up. It's tough. But I'm going to tell you, the hunting was tough. The coyote calling was tough. All you guys up north, I don't know how you do it up there because it was windy. It was cold. We heard coyotes all around us all night long. And we had thousands of acres to hunt. We made several dozen stands, in the 17-hour period. We ended up with 2 coyotes in the truck and 1 raccoon, and that was the worst showing that we've had since we've started this tournament. But it was tough for everybody as we went back to the weigh-in. There weren't that many coyotes that were brought in, and I'll tell you this, first time ever gone out to hunt all night and not seen a single pig, not one. And that's the first time I think I know it's the first time I've had that happen with going out on these tournaments, and not even to see a pig, because we had a
but
big hog
you say
side
that there
pot.
was like I was going to say a big hog side pot. Tell them this. This blew my mind.
Yeah, there was a big hog side pot, and there was only 1 hog brought in, and it might have been, I don't know, between 150 and 200 pounds. Only 1 pig brought in to weigh. So there was definitely something going on. The winning team did do a great job. I don't know where they were hunting. I think they were hunting somewhere around East Texas, but they ended up with 11 dogs, coyotes. That's what we called. And just for all of you out there, they were all coyotes, I promise. But they brought in 11 dogs and I think a bobcat is what they had. So they did great. Everybody else could not buy one. I mean, it was tough. To hear, the most frustrating thing is to be calling all night and trying different calls, and you can hear them. You could, turn the caller on, start, locate them. You could hear them, but it always seemed like they were miles away calling back at us. And then you'd move and they'd call back to you, but they still seem far away. We did get a couple to run in, got those, had a good time. Again, it's tough, but I'm kind of crazy because I signed up for 2 tournaments in back-to-back weekends. This weekend I've got a hog hunting tournament that I'm doing around here as well, and going to see how this goes. My wife, I think, is about ready to kick me out with all these overnight hunting trips, because when I come back, it's not just being gone the full night and hunting all night and being gone, but it's coming back the next day and then sleeping all day, and not being around, I guess, physically and mentally, when you're in the bed and not with your wife. My wife woke me up Sunday night at 6 o'clock after I'd slept. I got home at 10:30, slept from 10:30 to 6. She woke me up and said, "You're going to take me to eat." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am."
And Hans called me and sounded like he had just woke up. Hello. Oh, yeah. I was like, "Oh man, you sound terrible."
But I tell you what, man, those things, no matter how good or bad you do, like I said, this was not a good year for us. Our team, we got a good team, good bunch of guys. Love hunting with these guys. Down there in Murchison area, which is a little bit about 30 minutes away from where I live. Good old boys down there, fun to hang out with, fun to hunt with. The company's always good, and if we get to shoot coyotes, it's always a bonus. But We will be back doing it again next year. I know Conway Farms is going to have a hog hunting tournament here in the spring. I'm sure Outdoor Legacy doesn't know it yet, but they're going to sponsor that one too.
I was just about to say, I know where this is going. I know where this is going. See, Hans says, oh man, it's so much fun. And, you get to hang out. And even if you shoot a coyote, that's great. See, I'm like, we can hang out. We can go to bed at 2 and then we can get up about 8. Yeah. I don't have to stay up from that 2 to 8 part or 2 to 7. That's where I'm out. The rest of it sounds like a barrel of monkeys to me, but no, anything after 2, 3 o'clock. I'll go to 3 after that.
Oh man, I'll tell you, I'm 4 o'clock is when it hits you. 4 o'clock, between 4 and 5 o'clock is when it hits you. And you're like,
I'm done.
This
no thanks.
I'm never doing this again. I'm too old to be doing this. And then I tell you what, a year goes by and you start looking forward to it. Like, man, I'm excited about getting out there and doing the overnight tournament again. But they are a grind, and it's fun. You test, your everything about you. Your endurance, your strength. Hey, I had to crawl out of the back of a Bronco for 12 hours in and out every time we made a stand. And I woke up and I don't think I could move. My legs were sore. My back was stiff.
I just want to know how big all these other guys are that you drew the straw to go in the back. Because, you're a pretty tall guy. So for them to stick you in the back, it must have been pretty bad. I expect to ride back there with the spare tire.
I noticed how you complimented me by switching from big guy to tall guy, so I appreciate that. But yes, I am.
I didn't say
I am big.
Fat.
I am big and tall, and the guys that I'm with, they're not small. None of us are small, but it was, hip to hip. If to be descriptive,
you drew a short straw. I can tell.
Well, here's the thing, and if you know this, Jason, and everybody out there that hunts knows this. If you are riding along with somebody to people's land, you do not want to be riding shotgun, because what does the shotgun rider do?
You got to open the gates.
They're the gate guy. Every time in and out, open the gate, shut the gate, open the gate, shut the gate. So nobody wants to ride shotgun. So when they said, let's load up, I just jumped in the back seat as quick as I could. And, that put me, away from shotgun. And, I was more happy doing that than having to get out and open gates. So it all worked out good. But hey, hog tournament coming up. Outdoor Legacy is going to do some sponsorship like we normally do. We didn't even know if this coyote tournament was going to happen with all the weather. And I tell you, it was snow and ice all week. Decided Thursday or Friday that it is happening. Stuff started to melt. So we went out. There was still a lot of ice and snow on the ground. Like I said, it was cold and windy. But we had a lot of teams considering the weather. I was happy with the turnout. Thank you to Tucker Conway for organizing that, and puts a lot of time. It's 100% payout. It's not one of these things where, any people running it are kicking back any money for themselves. 100% payout. All the money goes to the winners, to the side pots, everything, great door prizes. And again, there's a lot of great tournaments. A lot of people talk about tournaments. I get invited to hunt a lot of tournaments. I wish I could hunt more, because I know there's a lot of good ones out there, and they're fun. If you're a coyote hunter, if you're a hog hunter, there's a lot of things on social media. Jason and I spend a lot of time on Instagram. He's a lot on Facebook, but I'll give him a shout out. Hog Hunting Texas on Instagram. Texas. He also runs a few other pages: Texas Hog Hunting America, and Texas or Predator Hunting Texas. Are 4 different pages that he runs, and he posts any tournament that's going on in the state of Texas and others if they, are outside the state as much as he can. But definitely all the ones in Texas, he will post information. So if you haven't done it, try to get a few of your buddies and try a tournament one time. It's something you need to say that you've done. Do a 24-hour tournament. Do it. Say you did it. If you didn't like it, you don't have to do it again. But if you have access to land, you got a few buddies that got some scopes. It's not a lot of money, and most of these things are about $200 entry fee. So if you got 4 guys, and that's $50 a piece, and go out and see what you can do. But I'll tell you the one thing:
Absolutely.
Jason Robertson ain't going to be on no team and hunting in no 24-hour tournament. So I don't even ask him.
Nope. No, I ain't doing it. You've asked me multiple times. You've begged me, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. Sorry, I'll hunt with you till 2 or 3. I mean, I consider myself a night owl. I mean, I don't go to bed before 2 o'clock on any night, but I know what happens after about 3 o'clock. Nothing good happens, and I don't want to be out there. So, well, folks, listen, we appreciate you coming back to the show this week. We hope you enjoyed the talk about Bering Optics, and we're excited again to be testing out the new Stimulus, the Hogster Stimulus, that we will have in our hands hopefully this week. And we will be coming back to you with a full review on that just as soon as we're able and ready to do so. And we feel like we've had enough time behind it in the field. So stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. We've got some more interviews planned, 1 or 2 left, I think. So we've got some, again, more scope reviews, a lot of stuff we've got to get to. I know people are asking, hey, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And our problem is just lack of time. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about right now, so we're excited about that. So stay tuned to the Late Night Vision Show. You're already here, so while you're here, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. You can go to thelatenightVisionShow.com. And you can see all of our past episodes. You can find the links to social media. If you're looking for Hans, you can go over to YouTube and search for Hans. That's Hansetx, Hans East Texas. You can see all of his reviews, his hunting videos, all those videos right there on YouTube. Great entertainment and very informative. And you can always find him over on Instagram, posting up pictures and short video clips. So go check him out there as well. If you are looking for night vision or thermal optics, Outdoor Legacy is the place to be. It's outdoorlegacygear.com. And this is early 2021. If you go over there, you are going to see a ton of scopes all out of stock, and that's okay. Just give us a call, and Hans and I would be glad to talk to you, point you in the right direction, and we can tell you what the wait times are, get your deposit down, and get you one of those things. But the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take to get one. So go on over there and check that out now. We appreciate all your support by supporting Outdoor Legacy. You support the Late Night Vision Show and Hans East Texas. So, Hans, anything else we need to tell them?
I think that's a wrap for episode 147. Again, we'll be testing the Stimulus, the Hogster Stimulus. We got a lot more scope reviews. Thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for always subscribing to our YouTube channel and all of our other social media stuff. But the YouTube channel, Jason, is grown like crazy. But we will see y'all again next week for another episode of the Late Night Vision Show. See y'all soon. Stay safe in the fields and keep making them bacon pancakes.